Emily Carter had always imagined her wedding day as something magical, a soft blend of laughter, love, and the kind of calm joy she saw in movies. When she walked down the aisle toward Daniel Brooks, the man who had quietly become her world, she felt her heart beat faster, not from nervousness, but from peace. The ceremony was small and warm, just family, close friends, and 100 fairy lights wrapped around the backyard oak tree. Emily's father gave her away, his hands trembling slightly as he whispered, "Your mother would be proud." That sentence lingered in her heart like a sweet ache. By evening, as the guests left one by one, the cool night air filled with the scent of roses and laughter. Emily held onto Daniel's arm as they waved goodbye, her dress brushing against the gravel path. The moon hung above them, quiet and watchful. The car ride home was filled with silence, not uncomfortable, but full of meaning. Emily rested her head on Daniel's shoulder, watching the city lights drift by like stars. It was their first quiet moment as husband and wife. No noise, no clinking glasses, no cameras, just them. When they arrived at the small home they had chosen together, Emily felt her heart swell. It wasn't a grand house, just 2 bedrooms, white walls, and a tiny garden in the back. But Daniel had spent weeks secretly decorating it. As she stepped inside, her eyes widened. Candles lined the table. Soft music played from an old speaker. A dozen white roses sat in a glass vase, and above the bed hung a wooden frame with carved words. "Our beginning." Emily turned to him, touched. "You did all this." Daniel smiled, his brown eyes glinting softly. "I wanted you to feel at home, not as a guest, but as my heart." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. She wasn't sure if it was exhaustion, gratitude, or love. Maybe all three. She walked around the room, fingertips grazing the flowers, the photos he had framed of their time together, from their first date at the park to that trip where they got lost in the rain. She sat down on the bed and opened a small wooden box placed there. Inside was a letter, one she had written years ago, addressed to my future husband. She had written it during one lonely night after her mother passed away, promising herself she would wait for someone who felt like home. She had forgotten she'd even kept it. Daniel sat beside her, curious but patient. She read the letter aloud, her voice trembling. "I don't want perfection. I just want someone who listens, someone who doesn't run away when I cry, someone who stays when the room gets quiet." When she finished, Daniel took her hand and said softly, "Then I'm exactly where I should be." That night they didn't dance or drink champagne. They talked. Hours slipped by as they shared stories from their childhoods about Daniel's younger brother who once glued his shoes to the floor, about Emily's mother teaching her how to make cookies every Sunday. Every story built a bridge not of romance, but of understanding. Emily realized love wasn't fireworks. It was warmth. It wasn't grand gestures. It was a steady heartbeat beside yours when the world gets quiet. At one point, Emily looked up and saw the clock read 2 a.m. "We're officially spending our wedding night talking about cookies," she said, laughing through tears. Daniel grinned. "That's how I know I married my best friend." She felt lighter than she had in years. The grief she'd carried for so long, the ache of losing her mother, the pressure of being perfect, began to fade into something gentler. Daniel didn't try to fix her. He simply stayed. Before falling asleep, Emily whispered, "I wish my mom could see this." Daniel brushed a tear from her cheek. "Maybe she can. Maybe she's the reason we found each other." The next morning, sunlight spilled through the curtains, painting their room in gold. Emily woke first, feeling a strange but beautiful calm. She looked at Daniel sleeping beside her, his hair messy, his hands still wrapped around hers. She smiled. For the first time in years, she felt safe. Not because life was perfect, but because she wasn't alone in it anymore. As she brewed coffee and watched the garden through the window, she thought about everything she had expected from marriage, the grand gestures, the constant excitement. But what she found was far better: peace. That evening, she began a new journal entry titled My Wedding Night. But instead of writing about romance or perfection, she wrote about love in its simplest form: listening, patience, laughter, forgiveness. Love, she wrote, isn't about how the story begins. It's about how you choose to stay when the music fades. Years later, Emily would look back at that night, their first as husband and wife, and realize that was the true start of their forever.